Welcome to A Magical Life, Health, Wealth and Weight Loss. I'm your host, Magic Barclay, lead practitioner at Holistic Natural Health Australia and #1 best-selling author. In this podcast, I aim to give you practical tips on how to accelerate and sustain your health, increase your financial, spiritual and emotional wealth, and to look at something that haunts many of us needlessly, weight loss. In some episodes, I'll have guests available to give you even more tips, but in others, the floor is yours. Drop us a line at A Magical Life Podcast on Facebook and let me know what you would like to know more about. Now, sit back and enjoy, because it is time for you to create and truly discover a magical life. Welcome back to A Magical Life. This is your episode 24. I am your host, Magic Barclay, and we are talking about shadow values today. Now, when we talk about values, we often think in a generalized manner, but there are two main types of values that rule your life. The first set is your golden values. So they are your higher values, your true to self values. So for myself, my top 3 golden values are family, health, and nature. Now for someone else, it might be creative outlets or creativity. It might be true to self. That might be a golden value. They're the things that we strive for in life. They're the things that we put before anything else in our lives. So when we chase our golden values, we're looking for a positive feedback for those. We don't chase golden values that create any negativity or disharmony. So golden values are what you value above all else. I hope that makes sense to everyone out there. But there is a second type of value, and that is called a shadow value. Now, a shadow value gives you secondary gain. For every activity that you do, there is a feeling that you get. That feeling is your shadow value. And we all have them. Now, our shadow values are often formed when we're young. So between the ages of maybe 4 and 10, we will develop shadow values and they will stay with us forever. And I'll talk to you a bit today about what the top 7 shadow values are and exactly what that means in your life. So there are 2 systems of the body that require your shadow values to provide a sense of safety or security, which is one of Maslow's needs in the hierarchy of needs, is security. So what the systems of the body are that seek security from your shadow values is the limbic or emotional system and the nervous system. If you do not feel safe, your reptilian brain, so your hind brain, will go, okay, I'm going to have to pull some safety through these shadow values because this is not a safe situation. You might get emotional, you might get fearful, nervous, exhausted. Extreme fatigue is a sign of the nervous system not coping. So there are a lot of symptoms that will pop up when your body needs to feed the shadows. Shadow values will actually override your hind brain, your reptilian brain, because ultimately you have a desire to live. And if all you see is danger, that's when the shadows kick in. Now, I hope that makes sense. This is quite a complex thing that we're talking about today, quite a complex notion, but it's very important for you listeners to know that you are driven by your shadow values. And that's not bad. It's not wrong. It is what it is. It's best to understand them and feed your shadow values in a more positive way rather than seek negative feedback. So to give you an idea, an action is created. So for me, an action might be the podcast. That's an action that I take. What is the feeling I get from that? Is it superiority? And don't think of that in a bad way. We'll talk about what the shadows are in a minute. Is it a feeling of safety and security? Is it a feeling of wisdom and knowledge? Do I get authority? Do I get attention? Like, what am I getting from that? What is the feeling that I get from doing my podcast, talking to you out there in listener land? The feeling that I get is the shadow value. Again, it can feed you in a positive way. Not all shadows are dark and scary. Let me just say that. So if you own your shadow values, then other people can't influence you. Now I'll say that again. If you own your shadow values, other people cannot influence you. You're less likely to buy something on a spur of a whim because the marketing was great, because you stand with your shadows and your golden values. You will stand with both of them and you'll be at peace with both types of values. So you can't be persuaded or dissuaded in any way off your personal path. When you find that you are doing something that you don't want to be doing, it might not be healthy, it might not be safe, it might not make any sense, it might cost too much money. That is your old action. So you have to look at what feeling you're getting from that action and put that feeling into a new action that is more serving of yourself, more safe, more sensible, more enjoyable. You need to create a new action that feeds your shadows in a healthy way. Before we go through what the shadow values are, all shadows have what's called fulfillment attachment. Now, in that, the old action will create some sort of fulfillment. When we replace it with a new action, we need to gain more fulfillment so that it's a more important action to be doing. I hope that makes sense. The nervous system in your body actually doesn't care about whether you feel good, feel bad, feel empowered, disempowered, whatever. It wants you to survive. So it is looking for the safest route to survival. The route that keeps you alive. It doesn't necessarily care that you have a smile on your face. It wants you to be alive. So again, when we find that we're doing something, a habit, or we hang around with the wrong person, or we allow a narcissistic person to come into our lives, as long as you're alive, your nervous system will find a way to cope with it. So this is what we often see with abuse. People stay for a long time because they're still alive. Their nervous system learns how to cope with it. And the way the nervous system does that is through the fight, flight, or freeze scenario. Will you come up fighting? Will you run away? Or will you just stay where you are and hope that the predator does not see you? That you are camouflaged enough in your life and you can freeze safely. Again, it comes back to safety. So what are the main shadow values? The first one is attention. You might feel unique, a sense of status, feeling special, standing out, being different, sense of prestige, of recognition. You might have a sense of adventure, creativity, variety, fun. It's basically appreciation. So attention is being appreciated. Now, we flip this in society as a negative thing. People will say, oh, she's just an attention seeker. Yes, she is, because her shadow is attention. That's not a bad thing. She's not doing it in a negative way. But attention is a shadow value. The second one is authority. This is similar to being in a parental role. You might give orders. You might like being respected. You have a sense of righteousness. You have the power to do it all your way. So authority, we see a lot of that in political figures, in media figures. It's a very male-dominated shadow value, but we all have some sense of authority. And even if you're only an authority over yourself, you can feed that shadow in a very positive way. The third shadow value is belonging. Now, this is similar to being accepted by or connected to or feeling part of a community. So for me, one of my top shadows is not belonging, but one of my golden values is family. So I do get some sort of belonging from my family, but it's not what drives me every day. That shadow is not one of my top 3 shadows. We see belonging on Facebook the most, on social medias, Instagram, even LinkedIn. We require that belonging to a community. Humans, like all primates, live primarily in groupings, be it family or community groupings. We have a need for belonging. And that is why it is a very common shadow value. A lot of us get it from our social media, and that's okay if it's done in a positive way. Now, the next shadow value is control. Now, I say this with my hand on my heart. I'm a control freak, and that's okay. Control is one of my top shadows. So with control, you are looking for being able to influence your own circumstances, your territory, yourself and or others. You seek security, certainty, protection, safety. Yeah, freedom is a key word here. If you value freedom, then you value control. I value freedom. I value having control over myself. I don't necessarily need to control everyone around me. Okay, sometimes I do. I'll admit it. But as long as I have control of myself, of my own thoughts, of my own feelings, of my own actions, then my little self bubble is in a happy control state. And I have freedom. So being a control freak, as society will say, it's not a bad thing. It's just your shadow of control. Do you feed it in a negative way or do you feed it in a positive way? The next shadow value is rebelliousness. Now, this is the one that I often say I have in the least amount. I just don't identify with it, and here's why. It's similar to being naughty, knowing you are doing something wrong, breaking the rules, or sticking it to the authority figure. Now, sometimes I do like to stick it to the authority figure, so I do have that touch of rebelliousness, but it's not one of my top shadows. It doesn't drive me every single day. But you will see some people out there that if you say walk on the footpath, they'll walk on the road because they can't walk on the footpath because you told them to. Their rebelliousness is one of their top shadow values. So again, you want to feed that in a positive, safe manner. The number 6, and this is in no specific order, by the way, but our next shadow value is superiority. Now, in society, we say that person's got a superiority complex. Good for them. Great. They can have a superiority complex if they're feeding their shadow in a positive way. Now, superiority is similar to power, progress, expanding, success, ambition, achievement, confidence, morality, problem solving, being right, being better than yourself and or others. It's ultimately a learning phase, a learning shadow. And I have this one because I love learning. I love being better than myself yesterday. I love knowing more than what I knew yesterday. Do I have a superiority complex? Yes, I do, over myself. I don't necessarily need to be superior to other people, but I need to feel superior to myself. I need to get that feeling. I keep coming back to that word feeling. So my actions will create that feeling. Now, the last one is validation. Validation is similar to being important, worthy and or good enough, deserving. In men, it's a sense of recognition. It is in females too, but mainly in men, it's a sense of recognition. In women, it's more a sense of appreciation, similar to attention. So people can get these two very mixed up. They can get validation and attention mixed up. But when we look at the actions that create the feelings, they live in synchronicity, attention and validation. So those top 7 shadow values are attention, authority, belonging, control, rebelliousness, superiority, and validation. Now, imagine you're at a party and someone walks in with a brand new baby. Doesn't matter what the conversation at the party is, what music's playing, how fun everyone is behaving. Once that brand new baby comes in, the baby creates like a vortex, like a vacuum. And everyone's attention is on the baby. And here's why. We are all born with all 7 top shadow values in abundance. The baby has it. The baby isn't an attention seeker, but it has all of your attention. The baby is the authority in the room. Everyone will do what the baby needs. The baby can't even speak, but someone will run for a bottle or a nappy or a bib or somewhere to put the baby, a bed or a crib or something. So the baby has the authority of the room. The baby has a sense of belonging. Baby knows what mum feels like, smells like, looks like, sounds like. The baby has a belonging already, an attachment, a sense of community. It doesn't know who all the people in the party are, and it doesn't care because it has its own belonging. The baby has control. The baby is not a control freak at the party. It doesn't go, hey, everybody, this is how you're going to do it. But the baby controls the whole room. The baby has rebelliousness. Does it care that someone's giving an important speech, congratulating the birthday person? No, the baby's going to giggle, it's going to fart, it's going to burp, it's going to throw up, it's going to do whatever it wants. It has rebelliousness, and that's not wrong. It's just what it is. The baby has superiority. The baby is learning all the time. It's learning to problem solve. It's learning what its fingers are doing, what its toes are doing. It's learning how to smile. It has superiority over everybody else in the room. It doesn't matter how many PhDs the adult next to the baby has got, the baby is superior. And that's not wrong. The baby has validation. It is good enough. It is worthy. It has recognition. It is important. It is deserving. So this little baby has been brought into this party. It has all top 7 shadow values. And it's not a bad thing. It doesn't matter that it's an attention seeker, that it's a control freak, that it has a sense of superiority, that it's rebelliousness and breaking all the rules. It doesn't matter because the baby is in a healthy way to create actions, to create the feeling, and the feeling is the shadow value. So how do we elicit what our shadow values are? Well, this is very interesting in its process. The first thing you need to ask is, what is your desired result? What is the goal that you are working towards? Then you say, in this very moment, what am I not getting, or what do I not have, or what is most missing? What are those feelings to get to that desired result? And that will point out some of your shadows. Now, there might be a few of them here. So what you do then is you stay in that moment and you say to yourself, in this moment, what is the name of the feeling that I'm not getting that I would not openly admit to typically? And here you will get another feeling, which you can link to the first feeling. And this is starting to elicit your shadow value. Then you say to yourself again, if you are the most egotistical person on the planet Earth, what would you say is the name of the feeling you are not getting in this moment? That will, again, elicit a shadow value or maybe even 3. So when I did this for myself, the 3 that came up for me were control, validation, and belonging. When I asked myself these questions again, I actually did it 2 or 3 times, and I realized that the feeling that came up for me most was control. It came up 5 times when I asked myself. The one that came up next was validation. That came up 3 times. When I went through these questions again and again, belonging did not actually come up. So for me, control is my highest shadow value and validation is my second. And that's okay. I am proudly a control freak that seeks validation. Not a problem. If I wasn't, we wouldn't have this podcast to listen to. So someone's got to do it. Then you need to ask yourself, what is your highest shadow value? So you ask yourself, how will creating my desired result, so the thing that you want the most, give you even more, insert shadow value here. So for me, how will creating this podcast give me even more control? I can choose my guests. I can choose what information goes out. I can choose the time that I record the podcast, the day. I can control the information that I bring to you. I can control myself. Rather than going on a political rant here on my podcast, I'm controlling that I'm bringing you information, bringing you learning, bringing you something that builds you, not just something that makes me feel good. Then you need to map your current actions against the new actions that will give you more of your shadow value. So an example here might be, let me see. Okay, I have teenage boys. Some days they don't want to brush their hair. They don't want to be presentable. And that's okay. That's their rebelliousness. So I need to find a way that the current action is not brushing your hair. What will the new action be that will give them some rebelliousness? So they might find 2 or 3 things. It might be playing a computer game. It might be having a joke, usually at my expense, and that's okay. But they get their rebelliousness in a different way, so that not brushing their hair is not the action they are taking anymore. I hope that makes sense to you, listeners. Shadow values will help you find where your personal wounds are and where you need to do some healing. Now, we talk about health here. We talk about wealth. We talk about weight loss. Shadows drive all of these things. So when your health plummets, it's often because you are not in line or aligned to your shadow values, to your truest, highest self. You're also not chasing your golden values. Now, I'm not saying here that you become unhealthy on purpose. Please do not think I'm saying that. But your body will find a way to accommodate you. With your wealth, be it personal, financial, emotional, spiritual, however you see wealth, your shadow values will govern that. Now, particularly in financial wealth, we find that our shadow values will actually drive us to a place of wealth or to a place of poverty. It's very highly linked up in that area. Now, weight loss. I've spoken on the podcast before about when I gained weight the first time. And for me, it was a sense of control. I could not control what was happening in my life. I was in a very unhappy marriage, but I could control what was happening in my body. Did I overeat? Yes. Did I not look after my health and lower my stress? Yes. That was a way I could find control. Were any of those ways in any form serving me in a positive way? No, they weren't. But I was in control. Was I seeking validation? Well, yes, I was seeking validation from my kids. My world became very insular. The only people I sought validation from were my kids. Did I seek it from myself? No, not at all. I became an empty vessel. And so I could not make changes in my life because I wasn't validating myself. Did I have a sense of belonging? Not really. Did I have a sense of authority? Nope, none of it. Did I have a sense of superiority? Not one bit. Completely empty of it, completely void of any superiority. So I was not feeding my shadows. Not only was I not feeding them in a healthy way, I wasn't feeding them at all. Did that ultimately lead to my weight gain and my misery? Certainly did. So we can see that shadow values are very driving values, but they can be nurturing values. So if we look at driving as the masculine form, nurturing as the feminine form, shadows can fulfill both of those axes. And the reason I want to talk to you today about the shadow values is that you need to understand they are there, and they are there for a reason. They want to bring you safety. They want to bring you security, whether it be through attention. Now, just when we say that word, negative connotations come up. It is not negative to have attention. Whether it be authority or belonging or control, rebelliousness, superiority, validation, you might have 3 shadows that are your top shadows. You might have 1 or 2 that drive you every single day, but you will actually have all 7. Now, remember I said I don't really have rebelliousness. It's not something that drives me every day, but I do. I don't buy things that I see an ad for. In fact, if I see an ad for a product and it comes on TV a lot, I will purposefully not buy the product. If my friendship circles start talking about, oh, there's this fantastic book, and, I love books. I have so many bookshelves in my house. Probably have more bookshelves than any other piece of furniture. But if all my friends are talking about this great book, am I likely to buy it? No. I'll wait till the fad is completely over because I want to be rebellious. I only want to buy the book when I want to buy the book, not when everyone else is raving about it. So there you go, a little bit of information about me. If there's something really on trend, I won't do it till 2 years later. That's my rebelliousness. Do we have all 7 shadows? Yes, we do. Every single day. Do we need to feed the shadows? Yes, we do. They are not a bad thing. They will support your golden values, your highest, truest values. Now, remember, belonging was one of my shadow values that came up when I did the elicitation. I love belonging to my family. I love belonging to my community, to my friendship groups. Is it something that drives me every day? No, even though family is my top golden value, belonging is not one of my top shadow values. But I am part of my family. Being the head of the family, I get authority. I get attention. I have superiority. So we all feed our shadow values. We just have to feed them in a healthy way. And I hope this discussion today has taught you something about these labels that we give people. She's an attention seeker. Great. That person likes to feel a sense of authority. Yeah, they do. Good on them. Because if no one else does, we're not going anywhere as a society. That person's so rebellious. Yeah, they are. Good on them. That person's a control freak. Yep. We need them. Own your shadow values and remember the story of the baby at the party. We all once had all 7 of those top shadow values in our lives, and we learnt to shut them out, to ignore them, to deny them. Feed your shadows in a healthy way. They will support your golden values, your highest values, your values of self. And just be you. You are unique. You are special. No one else is like you. We are all different. And that is what makes society a great, exciting place to be. We are all different, and we need to accept each other for our differences. We need to accept each other for our golden values and for our shadow values. It is not up to you to make a judgment call on someone else's life. It is not up to someone else to make a judgment call on your life. Do you, be you. Be your imperfections. Be your higher self. I remember reading a story. It's a Japanese fable, I believe, and it's about this gorgeous vase, and it's got cracks in it. It's not pristine and new anymore. It's ancient. It holds wisdom. It's seen so many lives in its time of being. It may have belonged to an emperor once. It may have belonged to a household. It may have been a vessel for carrying water. It may have been a vase for holding flowers. It's had multiple life forms and multiple different meanings in its life. But the cracks in it give it personality. The cracks in it differentiate it from any other vase. And it is just as beautiful with the cracks in it as it is without. You are that vase. You are just as beautiful with your cracks than without. So you are just as beautiful and just as unique with your shadow values as the next person. I hope you've learned something today. I've certainly enjoyed talking to you today about shadow values. I just think it's such a fascinating idea. Now, coming up in podcast 25, we have Lydia Georgie coming to talk to us. She has some great information. We have so much more coming up, and I really hope that you are getting a lot out of this podcast. For now, I would love to offer you a freebie, as I get all my guests to do so. If you want to talk to me about shadow values a little more or anything to do with your health, just contact me at www.holisticnaturalhealth.com.au. That's holistic with a W in front of it. And pop into the subject line on the contact form, podcast query or shadow values, whatever you want, get in touch and we will do a free health discovery session. For now, enjoy your shadows, embrace them, and go forth and create your magical life. Thanks for listening today. Please subscribe to hear future episodes, leave a review, and share this podcast. You can follow us on Facebook at A Magical Life Podcast or at Holistic Natural Health Australia. That's holistic with a W. You can find us on Instagram at Holistic Natural Health or at www.holisticnaturalhealth.com.au. That's where you'll access all sorts of articles, freebies, and more.